It was noontime today in the center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace.
Well, all right. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about digital currency, central bank digital currency. So basically, imagine a world where you could manage all your money, your debt, your loans all in one place, like one app, right? How cool would that be, Kevin? I bet you're excited.
I'm
Number
excited.
two, imagine a world where when inflation started to get out of control, you could just slow it right back down and make it nice and okay. Imagine a world
take a little bit of money out of every account.
where you control everybody's money. So if they piss you off, you could just cut them out. Be like, yeah, I don't like what you're saying. Imagine a world where you go to buy coffee, but you ran the red light and we wanted to, we wanted to get you and your coffee you couldn't buy it. Wouldn't that be easier, Kevin? If we could just
It would be.
Get rid of the problems in society. Like you start acting up, I just make you go away.
Right.
Like you're like, I'd go on the run. I'd hide out. Okay.
Yeah.
But all your money and your stuff, no. It gets crazy. But let's talk about it. So first of all right, digital currency, we all think Bitcoin, we think, oh, fancy, money from the future. It's imaginary.
Future money, yeah.
And that's why I think politicians got excited about it. They were like, oh, imaginary money, that's what we want to be in charge of, because then we could take all the real money and then they could have all the imaginary money. That's what politicians get excited about. Because they're like, we'll put the gold in my bank. And then you guys can have the bits. I'll give you lots of zeros. Lots of zeros. You'll be really impressive. That's, I think, how you always sell that kind of thing is you can be like, well, imagine if right now you have $10,000 in your bank account, which is probably pretty unlikely with most people these days. But imagine you have $1,000 in the bank account. And Kevin, what if I told you tomorrow you could have $5,000? It's worth 5 times more. You'd be excited. You'd be like, sign me up. That's what you would probably say. That's how I imagine it anyway. So anyway, they want to create a central bank digital currency. Now, Trump is kind of like, oh, no, I don't want that because I want what conservatives and Republicans want. And they're afraid of this. So it must be bad. So there is actually a bill in the House. It's actually passed the House, but not the Senate. And it's like House Bill 1919. You can look it up. I think I did put it in the show notes. It's down there. But a link to the actual bill and you can check it out. Hasn't passed the Senate or anything, done anything crazy. But basically you have a bunch of people who are like, let's never have digital currency. And then the rest of the people are like, well, the whole rest of the world's going to do it. It's going to happen. We need to get on board. Kevin, what the heck? Talk to me about the different types of currency. What even are they? What do we got?
So the first one is commodity money. That's basically, you trading your gold coins or your silver coins or your seashells or whatever it is, you trade it directly. Then, that's basically how things ran for thousands of years. Yeah. More recently, we moved into commodity-backed money. It's like paper bills, you know what I mean? But it represents something. It represents a piece of gold. Right. Or silver or whatever. Then there's public ledger money. Public ledger money is kind of like Bitcoin in the sense that everybody knows who owns what. If we all agree on it, it's all the same thing.
Kevin, Bitcoin.
We all know who owns what. And it's right now we're kind of like a hybrid with public ledger money and commodity backed money. You can trade your bills in for actual silver and gold, but not through the government. You know what I mean? It's a fiat currency.
Like I can go buy a gold coin with US dollars.
but it's not really backed by gold. You know what I mean? So
I do.
Central bank digital currency would be like a tyrant's wet dream. It's basically only the person that knows, only the person that's in charge knows who owns what. So you piss somebody off, and now they take a zero off your account if they want. I
There
mean,
it goes.
that's only if the government is corrupt, which we all know that's
They're not right.
never been
Right.
the case.
At least not
There's
the
never
U.S.
been,
government. They would
it's
know.
never been a corrupt government or a politician in this country.
Exactly.
So private. So basically,
and
it's private.
Wait, just so you know, when you're looking at my social credit score, remember I was the one that said U.S. government's never been corrupt.
That's right. That's right. And you
Put a
can
check mark right there.
You can tie them together. You know what I mean? So a central bank digital currency is basically it's numbers. Everybody's got a number. Everybody knows how much what they have as their number, and they don't know what everybody else has. So basically, it's completely private and completely run by one entity, whether it's a government or a central bank or some
Bitcoin guy who nobody knows who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. So or are there more, or is that's all of them?
That's all the types of currencies that we've been using.
And what do we use now? Toilet paper for money?
Yeah.
What is that? Okay.
I mean, it's a hybrid between a bunch of different things, but
okay.
It's basically
mostly
it's
you can
it's
wipe
public
your
ledger.
Yeah.
Ledger money is the economy we use. It's fiat. It doesn't really it's not really backed by anything. We don't,
All right. Now, a lot of people talk like this is a fantasy. It's not coming, but it's coming. And so in 2020, the Bahamas created the first central bank digital currency. Basically, they wanted to include the remote islands and put everybody in the same kind of thing. They started out with like 200,000 wallets issued, and they kind of worked into it and started going. Jamaica came on in 2022 with their own money. The Bahamas, it was called the sand dollar, and it's still there. Jamaica, the Jam Dex, no idea. That was to get basically people on board with banking. People were not even using banks in Jamaica.
Now you can totally trust it.
Right now, like, oh, come on. Nigeria, which is Africa's largest economy. They fight. You know what it was? People were hoarding all their cash. And they were like, no, we don't want that. So 2021, they came up with, I want to say Inara, something like that. Zimbabwe, 2024. Eastern Caribbean came up with Dcash in 2021. China, they actually rolled out they rolled out social credit in 2014, but they've been working on digital currency and are all in. But anyway, every single G20 country is working on a way to create a central bank digital currency. 60 countries are in the advanced phases. 18 of the G20 countries are basically ready to roll out. But basically, everybody is kind of on board with moving in this direction at some point. It is something that's going to happen. The big thing is they want to find a way to control inflation and to deal with it in real time. You know how they always talk about the Federal Reserve with raising and lowering the interest rate? Well, because they want to make money cheap or they want to make money expensive. The problem is if money's too cheap and easy to get, then you get out of control inflation, right? So, like, if basically everybody had $1 million in the bank, then I could probably charge you a little bit more for a hamburger because everybody's got money to buy hamburgers,
Right.
and so we could keep going unless, unless I start charging $5,000 for a hamburger, then you'd be like, maybe not. But if I charge $12 for a hamburger, you'd be like, yeah, of course, $12, I have $1 million, whatever, it doesn't matter. And, who doesn't like hamburgers? I mean, really, come on. So, but the same thing, they could go the other way, right? They could make the interest rate really high, which means it's hard to get money. If it's hard to get money, then you would go in and say, oh, money, yeah, that hamburger, $12. You know how hard I got to go to get a loan from the bank or to get $12? Or if I put it on my credit card, how much I'm going to be paying back forever to get that hamburger? So that's how they control it with the interest rate. But the beauty is, if I create a central bank digital currency, now I can fluctuate that on the fly. Like I can say, oh, there's this much money out there. No, there's not. And just like Kevin, I can just knock off some zeros. I can balance it out for everybody. I can make it fair. You don't pay your taxes, I got you. Don't even worry about it. I'll just take mine. Imagine how much simpler not having to, go collect things. It works out beautifully. Now, inflation is getting out of control. Now, they're saying right now it's only like 3% inflation. And that's over the last year is what they're saying in their fantasy world.
Yeah.
I don't really buy it. I have a chart from CNBC, and they're saying like coffee is up 18.9% in 2025. The beef and veal up 14.7%. Chewing gum 9.8%. Bananas 6.9%. Frozen non-carbonated drinks 9.6%. Bacon 5.8%. Basically, the whole list of examples they give, nothing is 3%. Right. Vending machines up 6.3%. Full service meals up 4.2%. Utility piped gas up 11.7%. Electricity up 5%. Gardening supplies or services, 13.9%. Audio equipment. Motor vehicle repair, 11%. I know you don't need me to read off a bunch of things. I get that. But my point is everything's way up, and they're up a lot more than 3%. So I don't know how they get this fantasy number. I think they're pulling it out of their ass, but
yeah.
I
mean, it's completely different. If you can say inflation is whatever you want, but we all know all of a sudden we're still making the same amount of money, but all of a sudden we can't pay our bills anymore. My electric bill has gone up over 100%. It's double what it was last year.
Your homeowner's insurance is probably double what it was. Now, somebody could make an argument, well, Chuck, that's because your house is worth so much more. So then does that mean there's inflation happening? If a house costs so much more to buy the same thing that I could have bought, right?
Right.
You gotta think and put this stuff together sometimes. It can be a little tricky. I don't know. They're jerks. So bottom line is there is a lot of things working against you, and inflation, they actually can try and use this digital currency to kind of regulate. But the problem is with that great benefit, it basically benefits the federal government. When it's good to them, it basically limits you. Now, let's talk about like pros and cons of a digital currency. Okay. So there are good things and there are bad things. Basically, the pros are it increases in efficiency, right? Everything's controlled at once. Like I was saying, you could kind of get your loans and do everything right in one kind of app and do everything. Banks are working with the government. It's all beautiful, right? Rainbows and sunshine. Improve international transactions, they say is a big pro. So you could basically deal with exchanges, it's all figured out. But I got to say, Kevin, you ever felt like you couldn't use your debit card? I mean, I remember I was in all those other countries when I was in the Navy, and they didn't have any problem figuring it out with my money. I could even go to an ATM and just be like, yeah, give me money. They were like, whatever. And that was back in like 2000, 2001. It was no problem. So I don't know why they act like, oh, it's so hard to deal with international, really. I guess because the different values of money are going up and down so much, the value of the dollar, but is it really? Because it's still going to go up and vary. So I don't see the benefit there. But anyway, that's an argument that the government's making. The big one they do say, decrease criminal activity. Because Kevin, how could I sell drugs if the government didn't want me to, if I had no way to pay for it? You ever think of that?
Right.
See?
It's great. The black market, you could eliminate the black market.
Gone, because there's no way people could figure out how to trade for goods
Right.
without, if the government was regulating it. It would be impossible. That might not actually be true, but I'm going to go with that's what the government says. So next, reduce transaction costs. You know how you have like that 3% on your credit card fee sometimes? Well, you don't pay it, but the store does, and they pass that along to you. It's not always 3%, it's 2%, it's 1%. I know if you went to prepper camp and came up to the Survival and Basic Badass podcast booth or whatever, and you purchased something with your check card or whatever, it would have cost me an extra 2%, or I got a little bit less when they took it, whatever. I don't even know what the percentage, but there was a percent taken out, right? Whatever that is. All right. So those are the pros. You could get rid of all that. Just bam, easy. And, we could even put like a mark in your chip or on your forehead or something.
Yeah.
That could make this really convenient that you don't even have to have a phone or a wallet. Maybe
you could just
maybe
scan
maybe if we gave out free phones to everybody, people would be on board with this. I don't know what the trick is, but we could probably get you there. Now let's talk about the cons. What could be negatives, Kevin?
What could be a negative of a national digital currency?
All right. Well, one, instability. I think where they're going with that is it turns out like a hacker or somebody could really disrupt the whole everything. Now, hackers could disrupt things, but they'll disrupt one bank or one, thing. It's hard to take down the whole system. You really have a whole system that's exposed here. Monetary policy could be a negative. There's a lot of shadiness that the government could implement, and I think that's referring back to what I was saying about the pros and cons of being able to just add zeros to people's bank accounts, things like that. Loss of privacy. Now, I said we'd be able to stop the criminals from doing transactions that we don't like, but it turns out, how you like to go to the nudie bar on the weekend? The government's going to know about that.
Because what exactly are you doing with all those tubes of preparation H?
Whoa,
inquiring minds want to know.
Whoa. Limit your spending. Let's talk about that for a minute. So, how could they do that? Do you remember how when they had the big inflation and stuff going on, they shut down the banks in Greece and they shut down ATMs for like a week? Well, if you had cash, it wouldn't have been a big problem because you just go home to the safe and grab some more and go back out. But if you had just a digital currency and there was no more cash, what if they shut it down for 2 weeks? Kevin, that you
spending is out of control,
option, right? You guys are getting crazy. We got to stop it, right? They stopped the stock market, right? They just shut it down when spending and it gets crazy. They just whoa, let's slow it down, right? They call it circuit breakers, and they slow it down. So they could limit your spending. What if they woke up one day and said, you know what? I see how much money everybody has. A lot of these people look really greedy and evil to me, right? And obviously, this would be if I was a Democrat. I would say, oh, there's a lot of people out there with $20 million or more in their account. And what if we just took 5% from all of them and added it to our spending? And because rich people, they probably got it illegally anyway. I mean, we all know, right? That's what the Democrat might say. So bam, they could do that. Or what if it was evil Republicans and they were like, I'm a Republican, I hate everybody. And so if you hate everybody, then I just want to take 1% from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And you screw all those people.
I mean, except for the people that are your friends. There are people that are in your little posse.
Well, Kevin, that's who I'm taking the 1% for. That's where you're going wrong. So I'm going to take it from everybody so it looks fair, and then I'm going to send every one of my buddies a little
redistribute it to my buddies.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now you're getting it. But you could also say, hey, I'm the federal government and I want to spend an extra $1 trillion. Now you're thinking there's no way they'd spend $1 trillion in like a year, but they could just, bam, we just added an extra one to that column on the ledger and we're good. And they do it. And actually, we were going to talk about one of the things that inspired this episode was we went from 36.2 trillion in January for the national debt. We haven't hit the end of the year yet, and we're already at 38 trillion. So that's a big
just knocking it out of the park, man.
Now, imagine something else.
$1 trillion every 2 months. It's fantastic.
You guys have probably heard food stamps. They are starting to implement more controls. Now, this has always existed, so don't act like all fantasy, but implementing a little bit more controls on what type of foods people could buy to kind of steer people into healthier habits. Now, what if I just did that for everybody? And I was like, you know what? I'm a politician who doesn't like beef, and I don't want anybody else eating meat. I think it's bad for the environment. I think it's bad for your heart. And I just, you know what? You can't use money to buy beef anymore. Or maybe I just don't like candy bars. And I'm like, no candy bars for you. Only us rich guys get candy bars.
You know what ones I don't like? Peppermint patties. Kind of gross.
You know, screw anybody who likes peppermint patties.
Yeah, those things are gross.
Or I like the Mr. Good bars. What if they just ban those?
Like shit.
I want something that has nuts in it. You know, I like nuts in my mouth. You know how it is? Right.
Who doesn't?
So if you don't, what if they could also do, there's weird things like this. What if you don't spend your money, you obviously don't need it, so it could expire, or I'll just take it away. Now think about it like this. Like, what if I said, Kevin, I'm going to give you $1,000 a month for food. That's how much you need. But you only spent $800 this month. Well, then obviously you
only need $800.
You only need $800, right? So therefore, the end of the month, that $200 comes back to me. These are things they actually, and every one of these items on this list isn't something I just pulled out of my ass and made up in Chuck's fantasy world. This is what they might do. No, these are things that they've discussed and said, you know, we could do that. And or it's been implemented somewhere at some point. And like I said, it may have been implemented through the SNAP program, through the EBT cards, things like that, right? But all these things are considered and things they're really talking about.
When you were in the military,
talking about it now because they're like, hey, Chuck has some good ideas for our policies.
Yeah. Anyway. Pay attention. If you're in the government, pay attention right now. Now, when you were in the Navy, did you get any of those things? Because they don't pay people in the military, Jack. Right?
Way early on, I think early stages of the military, my wife did get WIC, the Women, Infant, Children. So we had that. I didn't do anything else. I think they said everybody at the like E1, E2 level qualified for food stamps and stuff. I never had those things, but I did have WIC. And back then, that was when they would give you like a check for something. Like you'd have WIC checks, like they were a physical paper check, and you would
and you could only buy like milk and cheese and a couple of.
They were really limited on that one.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
And that was 2-3 months of my life, whatever. Early on, we were pretty poor. Turns out, when you first join the Navy, if you don't have money, you're not going to have much money.
No,
But now I assume they're all rich because everything's gotten better for everybody. I mean, all I hear about is good times, right?
Right. Okay. Right. I heard some anonymous donor just donated $130 million to pay the military's bill.
Now,
an anonymous donor. We don't know who it is.
Could have been anyone.
Yeah, it was a day after he released that crypto billionaire from prison.
I don't think there'd be a
not
connection.
related. I'm sure
Unrelated, but it is anonymous, so it could be that guy. I mean, it's as likely it's that guy as it is not that guy. Actually, I don't think odds and percentages that really works, but it worked for the argument I was trying to make. So,
right.
Or maybe it was the argument you were trying to make. I'm not really sure of the connection there.
Whatever. But it's anonymous and anybody can do whatever they want.
There's another fear that people have with digital currency, and this one gets a little crazy. So what if they created some kind of social credit score? Have you heard about this? Now, China has already implemented something like this. This is already going on. Let me give you a little insight on China and social credit scores before we jump down this road. So they rolled it out in 2014, and it's not a single score like Black Mirror, I guess, had that kind of thing, but like a web of blacklists and reward tracking. So 1.4 billion people, 2025, it covers 330 cities with 19 full independent local systems.
Right.
They're called
so it's not one cohesive system. It's it's multiple different systems.
That's way like the governor could of a region could kind of maybe get favors or kind of do things the way he wants to, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you decide what's good and bad.
You dug into this system a little bit. What'd you find, Kevin?
So everybody starts with 1,000 points. That's your baseline, right?
1,000 sounds like a lot. So I'm excited already.
Lose and gain points through different things. So there's A, B, C, and D. So the A is somebody that has 960 points or higher.
Yeah, that'd be me.
That's a good dude.
Now, can I ever go over 1,000? Do you think? Or
you can.
Okay, so I can get up things
but it doesn't really matter. Like once you hit 960 or above,
right,
you're in. B level is 850 to 955 points. That's you're a decent dude. You're all right. Right? 600 to 859 points. That's like the warning level. You're in the danger zone.
You're saying in 85, I'm not even a B?
No, 85 is B. 84.49 is C.
All right.
So that's where you're at. That's not a good, that's not average. That's not like, we always think of like a C as like the average, dumb person in school has a C. That's not a good score though.
Oh.
You're already at your warning level. You're already in the danger zone.
But I've been telling people that I did good in school, and you're saying no.
You're just average, bro.
No, average.
Completely average.
All right.
All right. And then level D, that's 600 points or less. That means you are untrustworthy. You're in the untrustworthy category. So that's going to limit you on certain things. Like you might be banned from public transit, right? You can't take the bus. You got to walk to work. Increased police monitoring. It's basically you're kind of on probation. You know what I mean? They're just going to keep an eye on you because you're not trustworthy.
Right.
Restrictions on government services. So, I know that in China, they're trying to control everything. So that means that whatever they control, I don't know, dude. I don't know. But if you're up in the good areas, if you're in an A or B, you can get like discounts on your heating bill. Easier to access
I love
credit
heat in my house. I love when the heat's on when it's cold out.
Faster visa application. So if you're in good standing in China, you can travel. If you're not in good standing, they don't want you running. You know what I mean? If you got a good score, you're going to come back. But if you don't have a good score, you might not want to be there anymore.
Right. But why would you want to keep the crappy people? I would want those people to go.
Yeah, well, somebody has to actually do the work, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
There are people that actually have to work, The
people with the bad credit scores, they got to make the iPhones.
Right.
All right. Okay.
They have to walk to work, but they have to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you
So,
now.
so how do you earn points?
I have an
You got a
idea.
bad score. You want to get back up in there. You can
Okay.
donate your organs.
Oh,
Now, you can give one kidney. I don't know what
oh,
other
you mean
organs
while
you
I'm
can
alive?
donate. Yeah,
While I'm alive, I'm giving you my organs.
right.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what other organs you can give though. Maybe part of a liver. I don't really know how it works.
It's-
And it's
Give me a
very unclear.
Kevin, I'll
Like I
give
don't
you an
think you're on the donor list for when you die. I think it's
Oh, that's automatic, probably.
yeah, that's just I mean, they just harvest organs from prisoners and shit like that. They just, keep you alive as long as possible, put you on dialysis and take both your kidneys. I don't know how they do it.
That doesn't
Um,
sound good, Kevin.
you can donate to charity or do
Oh,
volunteer work,
Now,
right?
what would a charity be like in China? Like, because they're
Well,
always out helping people. Is that what's
yeah, I
happening?
mean, I don't know what charity. I mean, do you donate to the government? To me, I thought that's how the charity worked out there. Now, there's one other thing you can do to earn points: a heroic act. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
Kevin,
Saving the
that's
children
you
from
see somebody
drowning. I
in
don't.
the street and the bus is coming and you run
Mhm.
out, swoop it up. Or, there's some other heroic acts. Like, I don't know. Think of the things that could put a smile on your face. And maybe if somebody did that for you, that would be heroic. I'm just saying. And if you were thinking anything bad, that's because you guys are messed up in the head. That's my
Mhm.
guess. Because I'm only talking about good, wholesome.
All right.
Because
So
the government is all good and wholesome.
how do you lose your points in this credit score?
Yeah, that's really where I wonder.
Traffic offenses,
Oh,
jaywalking, something like that.
mm,
You get the cameras everywhere. You can always catch somebody doing something. And you decide. You get to
it's
decide
at
if
my
you're going to
discretion
penalize them
from
or
the
not.
government. I like it.
Yeah. Littering, nobody likes a litter bug.
Nope.
Public drunkenness. Now, no word on like private drunkenness. Like I think you can still get shit faced in your house. Don't get shit faced outside. You're gonna lose your points, man. And violating current orders. So basically, a lot of the things that get you to lose your points are things that are already crimes. You know what I mean? If you're a criminal and get caught being a criminal, you're going to go to jail and lose your points.
Oh,
And then maybe you can gain some back when you're in jail when they harvest your organs. I don't know how it works. It's not a set thing yet. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's so many different variations of the credit score. It depends on where you live.
Mm. That's the thing where I think you can really get the whole government dictator thing. Like it becomes like the 1984 and
Right.
it's a George Orwell book.
Yeah,
Somebody
and
made that
let's be clear that one of the main ways that people lose their points is it's not by talking bad about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party.
saying that
You just go to jail for that.
they look like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, that's it.
No.
Straight to jail. But if you say something like, "Oh, on your WeChat or whatever they have in China, because whatever chats they have there are monitored. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't go on Twitter. You don't have anonymous accounts. If you say, "Hey, I heard there's a roadblock up here. Be careful with your traffic when you go through town."
Right.
That's it. You're it. That's it. You lose points.
Oh,
Any
so when
sort of
you flash them your high beams or whatever and are
yeah.
like, "Oh, there's a cop over there." All right.
Any sort of thing like that, that's how you lose points. If you directly say, I don't believe Xi Jinping should have as much power as he does, you're going to jail. That doesn't have anything to do with your credit. You know what I mean? That's a crime. You're in prison. So you and I already have lost all our 1,000 points just discussing the credit score. It's like Fight Club. You know what I mean? The first rule of the social credit score is you don't talk about the social credit score.
Right. Well, you told me you had seen a interview with somebody from China. What'd they have to say about it?
Yeah, they said they were on a chat with somebody they knew in China. They were out of China. They had to actually flee the country. But they were out of China and they were chatting with somebody that was in China, and it had underneath it, this person does not pay debts. And he asked about it. It's like a list that is on with his name on the chat. And he's like, oh yeah, I just gotta straighten this out, whatever. But yeah, but they will.
Kevin, can you really even trust that guy anyway?
They will display your name and face and say what you did wrong, publicly shame you. They will have they'll display you on screens publicly with your name and the shit that you did wrong, so that everybody can walk around, and every time they see you, they'd be like, shame on you.
I see that happening.
Get some pariahs out there. You know what I mean? Get some of those real shitbags. We can throw garbage at them, blame them for the littering.
Right. All right. I see that. Now, I feel like you and me couldn't go to China if we wanted to. Like we're already on that list of.
Yeah, we're straight to prison.
Because I heard about, I watched a guy who's like, I went to China and they're so advanced with the future. And we have all these, they had these legs that they could put on. It was like a hip belt and some brackets that went on the legs, and it could do the walking and running for you.
God, I'm so lazy. I would love that.
I know. And they're like, oh, when you go to the mountain hike, you could just strap these on.
Strap your bionic legs on.
And they were talking about, how the future and how everything's great. And I was like, wow, I'm going to go to China. This is awesome. And then I was like, wait, all these podcasts we've done, maybe I shouldn't go to China because I might end up in jail day one.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
yeah, I remember in jail. I have a friend from China, and he's like, you should really go to China. He goes, do you like weird foods? I said, yeah.
Who doesn't?
He goes, we have snake, we eat everything over there. And I was like, oh, that's not the kind of weird food I was talking about. But I mean, hey, whatever. But I mean, it is a crime to talk negatively about the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
Even if you're not a citizen of China. So we have already broken several laws, and we owe them years in service and maybe our kidney. So,
all right,
just little things. If you ever want to go to China, make sure they don't have any record of you saying anything bad about them.
Yeah, I feel like it might end bad for me because, dude, we get a lot of downloads in China.
Yeah, there's always a consistent 97 downloads in Beijing, which is a little disconcerting.
Nah, so we don't need to be heading to China. I don't think that would end well for you and me. But hey, you do you, right? You gotta keep things spicy. When have you ever been afraid to back down from a challenge, Kevin? I say,
I always walk around thinking,
let's book the trip.
I have too many damn kidneys. I wish somebody would take some of these kidneys off my hands.
That might be the way that we get out. It's tell you what, I'll give you a kidney. I think they'll be like, you know what? We're just going to take both of them and fuck it. So, all right, that's it. Ideas, concerns, things you might be worried about, you might want to put in the comments. We appreciate you guys hit the like button, subscribe, that kind of stuff. You can email us with show ideas and concerns at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.